Well, we have some breaking news, and this time it's not good news. Cori Bush has lost her Democratic Party primary to AIPAC-funded Democrat Wesley Bell. This is a race where they spent $7 to $8 million against her, so not as much money as they spent against Jamal Bowman, but still they spent millions of dollars to defeat Cori Bush, and that has paid off. So, obviously, disappointed. Not the result that I was hoping for. And if you've been watching my coverage of this, for months, it has seemed as if she was at a strong disadvantage in this race, in part due to all of the money being spent against her. So it's disappointing. Obviously, it's sad. And I hate that after getting the good news that Tim Walz was picked as the VP, now we have to come back to reality and realize, it's still an uphill battle to accomplish what we want to accomplish, and one of the best lawmakers in Congress was knocked out by a shill. It's sad, and it's really frustrating, but here's the thing. In the grand scheme of things, it's hard to feel that things are changing, but I do think that they are changing. They're changing slowly, but they are changing nonetheless. I think that this hold that AIPAC has on the Democratic Party, I don't know how much longer this is tenable. I don't know how much longer it's politically feasible for Democrats to openly associate with AIPAC. I mean, this is becoming a political liability for the Democratic Party. This is quickly turning into their own version of the NRA. It's toxic, voters don't want it, and more public opinion is not anti-Palestinian. They're not racist towards Palestinians. And for so long, that open racism towards Palestinians and Arabs, more broadly speaking, and Muslims as well, that's something that was just socially acceptable. But things are slowly but surely starting to change. And so I don't necessarily know how long it's going to take to change things, but I do know that things are changing. But that really isn't good enough, because we need immediate change. We need people in Congress right now like Cori Bush, who's willing to say what's happening in Gaza is a genocide. A lot of lawmakers, most lawmakers, don't want to use those words. They don't even want to call for a ceasefire because it's just not politically expedient currently for them to do that. But again, that is slowly changing. Now, here's what I do know about Cori Bush. Cori Bush is somebody who is never going to give up. And either way, if it's in Congress or not in Congress, she's going to be fighting for the right policies. I brought her on my show back in 2017. When I interviewed her, she was running for Congress and she lost that election. She came right back and she won her election. I don't know if she's going to run for Congress again, but what I do know is that she's sticking around. So I think that, I'm trying to not allow myself to get too down on this, because after the Jamal Bowman debacle where he lost, I just thought this doesn't bode well for Cori Bush. But I tried to put it out of my head, and sure enough, what we were all feeling did end up coming to fruition. But listen, it's not over yet. Next week is Ilhan Omar's primary. She's up against somebody who isn't as well funded as Wesley Bell, but Don Samuels is somebody who came very close to beating her last time. So we have to try to see the silver lining. If we can salvage some of these races, beat back AIPAC in some of these races, not all is lost. I mean, we had a victory with Summer Lee, right? She beat her opponent who was funded by the Israel lobby. So we're going to win some, we're going to lose some. The fact that we've had this many wins when we're up against political behemoths in and of itself is really impressive. But with that being said, the system itself, it pushes up against this type of progressivism and leftism, and it's resistant to change, which is why it's always going to be more difficult for us and the left than anyone else, right? Because what we want is systemic change. We want a change to foreign policy that is radical, quite frankly. We want to end the genocide. We want to stop funding Israel. So I'm rambling at this point, but I say all this to say it sucks. I feel you. Again, this feels like a gut punch, but try not to let this get you down, because this is not the end for Cori Bush. And I hope that she runs again, because I think in a couple of years, even if someone like Wesley Bell takes AIPAC money, I think she can beat him, right? I think that type of politics is not going to be acceptable. And I will try my hardest to make that association, that AIPAC money, as toxic, as politically liable as I can make it for Democrats. Now, maybe that sounds like hope. Maybe she can't win. I don't know. Either way, we can't let this depress us. Just make it motivate you more, right? Use this anger and sadness that you're feeling after this defeat to galvanize you. Put it to use. Maybe phone bank for Ilhan Omar, send her a donation. Every time they knock us down, get right back up and fight twice as hard, because that's just what you have to do if you're a leftist. Being a leftist means you are almost always going to be politically marginalized and you're going to lose more than you win. That's just part of being on the right side of history in a late-stage capitalist system. So keep that in mind. Don't get too down, and just know that whatever you're feeling, the disappointment that you're feeling, we're all feeling the same way.